welcome to Mission to Inspire. My name is Shola, and you're welcome today. We've got our special guest here. His name is Doctor. Is it Doctor, right?
That's right.
Yeah, Dr. Ravi. So I'll leave it to you to introduce yourself properly. Talk about what you do. I kind of found that it's best to leave it for you to introduce yourself and talk about what you do, because then it sounds better, it's more authentic than me just reading out all your bio.
Oh, thank you, Shola. I'm a physician and I practice here in Northern Virginia in Fairfax County, and been a physician for 41 years now. And I run a clinic called the Iyer Clinic, and in addition to that, I'm also the CEO of a company that manufactures certain medicines that we market to the public. I'm also a public speaker and an author, and my focus is entirely on enabling people to discover their ability to function under crisis and stress. So in that sense, the work I do has been listed at several levels as one of the people first leaders that we do. I pioneered a method of helping people be able to differentiate the ability to stay grounded in the reality of their experience versus getting carried away by the stories that pop up in their heads out of that experience. So by doing this, by enabling people to separate their ability to be aware of the event as opposed to the narrative and the judgments and evaluations and classifications that jump out of that awareness. I enable people to stay focused on what their core principles are, and also experiences a level of control and freedom as to which narratives they would like to have become the dominant narrative of their life. So they move from being a consumer of the story of their life to being a creator of the story of their life. Most people don't have the ability to determine the story of their life. They think that life happens along with the story, and that they have to essentially make do with whatever stories come to them. And any ability to change the narrative and be the author of their own story is usually experienced as an accident, almost by luck or by chance that they are having. So most people feel in power and feel as if that they are the true creators of their life only in a few instances in their entire 60, 70, 80 years lifespan. They will be able to describe, oh, I really was in control and command of my life in this moment or in that moment, rather than being able to say that I was the author of my life for all my 70 years of life. So in reality, what I show people is that you can be the author of your life every moment. It all depends on you being able to find your ground of standing, where you can stand and watch the experience of your life and determine, rather than just be watched by the narratives that pop up.
That's true. That's true. And I actually believe that we are actually the author of our life. So nobody can write our book for us rather better than we do. So that is very correct. Thank you so much for that introduction. Before we go into our interview today properly, I'm going to ask you 5 questions just to know you better, just to take us off track, off track interview questions. And the first question I'm going to ask you is it's on this or that. So straightforward, yes or no, right?
Okay.
So the first one is, which one do you like most? What do you do most? Books or movies? Do you like reading? Do you like movies? I know you're an author.
Um, I tend to books or movies. I tend to do both actually, roughly equal. Um,
You can do both.
um, I do, but I'm very selective about the movies I pick
All right.
because
Okay.
the movies have to be almost like a story that are powerful. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I don't just pick any random movie and watch.
Right. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you for that. So, do you like beach vacation or mountain retreat?
retreat.
Retreat. Great. Okay. Are you an early bird person or a night owl?
Very early, I get up at around 4 a.m. every day.
All right. Okay.
Um,
Okay. Good to know. Do you like tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Coffee. Last one. This one is about wellness. Okay. So it is running or yoga.
Neither actually.
Neither.
Um,
Oh my God.
Neither. Neither.
Okay.
I when I was younger, I used to be a competitive runner, but now my knees hurt, so I don't run. And in terms of yoga, I don't do the yoga that most people in this country
Mm,
call yoga. The
mm.
what I do is completely different.
Oh.
So
So what sports do you do?
I do a form of breath control that is completely different than the yoga that most people do here.
Okay, thank you so much for answering those questions. Thank you so much. Before we go into the interview proper, I'm just going to remind our viewers that if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to our channel, like and comment. Also, we're going to talk about Dr. Ravi's book shortly as well. So he had his latest book is called Reaper's Dance, 1000 Days of COVID. Is it?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, wow. And actually offers insights into navigating the pandemic. So can you tell us a bit more about the book, especially the key lessons or observations you shared in the book? And how this actually apply to our lives. But before you go into answering those questions, where can we buy this book? Because I think that's very important.
Oh, just go to Amazon and type in the Reaper's Dance. The Reaper is spelled as Reaper, Reaper's Dance, the Grim Reaper. And
Yeah.
or you can type my name, Ravi, Ravi, and last name Iyer, Iyer, and it'll pull it up.
Okay.
It's available on Kindle. It's available on paperback, hardcover, and audiobook. But
Okay.
but the story of the pandemic has evolved so much that what is right now available on Amazon is a third edition. So
Oh.
whereas the Audible book is actually the first edition. So if you buy the Audible, you're not going to get the latest version because there was a significant upgrade on chapter 6 that
Mhm.
is not present in the Audible.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
so
Okay.
the book has 3 sections, or it can the lessons of the book can be categorized into 3 areas. One is the area of the disease and the way the pandemic impacted the US and the rest of the world,
Mm,
and the real struggles of ordinary people in the ground level. Second is the story of how groups of people came together and innovated and actually uh, came up with very creative and ingenious solutions to survive and thrive and prosper in the pandemic. So that
Mm.
was the second part. And the third part is the origin of the pandemic. Why did this pandemic have to happen? Or what is the data behind the story of the pandemic? Why did this virus come out at this time and not any other time?
Yeah.
Uh, what do we know about the genesis of this?
Mm-hmm.
And do we know anything? What are the odds that this kind of thing is likely to happen again in our future? Um, so those are the three take-home lessons of the pandemic. The most so the first two lessons, the impact of the pandemic
Yeah.
and why the pandemic actually had to happen this way,
Mm-hmm.
are things that are valuable to
Okay.
know what is likely to happen to us if this pandemic happens again, something like this happens again.
Yeah.
But the real powerful lesson that translates into everybody's life, whether it is pandemic or no pandemic, is
Yeah.
how do you remain grounded when even the air that you breathe is likely to kill you? How do you remain grounded in the face of your own mortality? How do
Right.
you remain human in the face of your own mortality? How do you
Right.
lead people to rise above the circumstances of their life, to actually not just be like animals caught in a trap, but how do you enable people to rise up and be human? How do you enable people to how do you lead people through the darkness of death when death is dancing next to you?
Mm.
How
Mm.
do you live? How do you? We did that in our entire community, and that is the story of the Reaper's dance.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I mean, those three lessons are quite they are very vital. Um, one of them actually kind of jumped at me, which is the impact of it. I mean, the
Yeah,
impact huge. I mean, what we went through during that pandemic, I don't think we want to go through it again. Ever. I don't want it
yeah. No.
ever. It was one of the most scariest moments of
See,
my, and I'm sure of a lot of people's life, because we didn't even know when it would end. It was going on for a long time. So yeah, it's
the impact that you see of the pandemic is still happening for us. For example, the the damage it did is the the right now the Israeli-Palestinian war that's happening is an outcome of the damage that happened during the pandemic.
oh
Uh,
really?
yeah, so uh, it's because when you already have groups of people under pressure and then you bring in an external uh, event like the pandemic puts everyone under even greater pressure. And then when the when the pandemic recedes, this pressure that they created explodes outwards. The Ukraine war comes out of that. Everything comes like that. So the pandemic became the tipping point for a lot of spiraling events that occurred afterwards. People talk about how schools were shut down and businesses were closed, but if
Mm,
you think about it, the pandemic killed adults more than children. So globally, millions of children became orphans. They lost one or more parents.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
And when that happens in families that are just barely managing to get by with the income of two parents, and
Mm,
suddenly you lose one or both parents, the children, don't descend into poverty, they descend into slavery and prostitution.
Oh
The,
my goodness.
the children are picked up. The children are picked up and swept. So globally, human trafficking completely exploded during the pandemic
Ooh.
because there was this huge hundreds of thousands of children were left open and unprotected,
Hmm.
ready to be picked up by whatever evil there is. So people don't talk about that. People don't they don't think about it like that. But all over the world, that was what was happening.
My God. So some people
How did how did
opportunity.
yeah. So then you look at women who are in abusive relationship. You have the lockdown, and husband and wife, they are in an abusive relationship. Before the pandemic, the husband went to work. For
Hmm.
at least 8 hours, the wife was not being beaten.
Yeah, that's true. That is very
But
true.
then, but then in lockdown, both of them were in the same room with no income, no work, and an abusive
Oh
relationship.
my
I
God.
used to I used to see women would come to my office. They would say, "Oh, I slipped and fell, and I sprained my ankle." And I look at the ankle, and then I will pull the pant up, and I will see bruises going all the way up the thigh. They were being beaten. I hit my elbow. The women will make up all stories. Didn't want to reveal that they were like that. And I would have to bring those stories out. So,
Mm.
so there was a lot of, people didn't realize when you start talking of the cost of the pandemic, it is not just people who died.
Wow. 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 So it's not just about the people. It's about everything that happened around us at that time.
Yep,
Mm.
all over the world, not just here. So the conservative estimates is that the pandemic killed about 20 million.
Mhm.
Well, it killed about 10 million directly because of COVID.
Okay.
Then because then it also killed another 5 to 8 million because COVID made them weak enough such that they subsequently died of a heart attack or some other reason a few months later. Then, because of the COVID pandemic happening, there were patients who were sick with other diseases who did not get health care and didn't, so they died. So the global, what is called the excess mortality. So if excess mortality is the total number of deaths that occurred more than what you would normally expect.
Right.
And if you look at the excess mortality in the world
Yeah.
in 2020 and 2021,
Yeah.
the excess mortality is in the order of about 20 to 25 million.
Wow.
So, you talk about the Holocaust and say 6 million Jews got killed. Well, this 25 million died in this.
Mm.
And in the Holocaust, 6 million Jews died over 4 years. Here, 25 million died over 2 years. So, so the death rate, the intensity of the dying was much, much higher.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah. So can you share with us a pivotal moment or experience in your career that shaped your experience or your approach to medicine and wellness? Is that something you've always wanted to do?
Yeah, yeah. When I grew up as a child, I had already decided when I was about 10 years old that I wanted to be a doctor.
Uh,
So it was very clear in my mind. I I, I was fortunate that I knew what I was good and what I wanted to do very early in my life.
oh, that's
So so a lot of it came out of my early childhood in India, um, and one of the things I discovered about myself was that I could be a space where people around me would feel calm. When I was 14 or 15, I discovered that I had this ability to make people calm around me. And
Right.
because of that ability, I said, okay, this is something that I have, and I started exploring that ability more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the It did not come out of the blue. When I was born with ADHD, so for
Right.
me, my mind was going always at a million miles an hour. So very early as a child, I figured out that if I did a particular breathing exercise, my mind would slow down and I would calm down. And
Right.
I started discovering that I could control the intensity and the intensity of my thought process by doing this breathing exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing this breathing exercise, I could distinguish that these ideas and thoughts that would come up with relative to the experience I was having. Most people think about experience as, okay, I'm seeing something, I'm hearing something, but whatever I'm hearing, they have a story about it. Whatever they're seeing, they're having a story about it. And they
Mm-hmm.
think that that story is what they are seeing. The
Right.
story is a construct that is popping up in their head.
Mm-hmm.
And it is being triggered by the reality that is hitting them.
Ah, yeah, yeah,
If
yeah.
you're able to see that the reality is one thing and the story is another, you
Mhm.
have power in your life. If you see that the story is reality, you have no power. So the ability to remain grounded in just experience comes from the ability to seeing that the story is a construct that is happening in your head, and it is a created construct,
Wow.
and that you are the creator and you can choose what you want to create.
Okay. So
Most
we
people,
we are the creators, so we create the story in our head anyway, which means we
yes,
can
absolutely. But you can only do that if you're able to separate yourself from your creation. And if you cannot separate yourself from the creation, you cannot you cannot be the creator.
So how do you separate yourself from the creation, from your creation?
By the breathing exercise. By the breathing exercise, you can stand at the ground and you can see the story that you're creating. Like, all right, I'll give you an example.
Mhm.
When you are playing a role on a stage,
Yes.
the story of the play is the story that you are acting, but you as the actor don't become the story, right?
No. Mhm,
You're
mhm, yeah.
able to see yourself as separate and you see yourself as just playing a role. Imagine being able to do that for life. When you're able to do that for life, then what happens is no matter what happens, you never get trapped in the story. You play the role and then you move on. You play the role, you receive the rewards of the applause, and then you move on.
Okay. Now I get it. Now I get it. Now I get it. So that's how we separate ourselves from the creation. Wow. I thought because it's our creation, we kind of have to hold on to it. But yeah, that
You
makes
don't
sense.
have to own it. You don't have to own it
Right.
because you can own it. You can be people have this idea that they have to own something to
Yeah,
be invested in it. You can
exactly
be in.
what I thought.
All right, I'm going to ask you: does Gregory Peck and Anthony Hopkins own the story?
Uh,
Are they wonderful actors?
they are wonderful actors, yes.
Yes. Do they Are they award-winning actors?
Well,
and
yeah.
they're able to separate themselves from the story when the story is over, right?
That's true.
When they act, they own it, but they own it at arm's length.
Mm,
They
mm.
they see, to own something means it is a part of you, but you are not a part of it. If you are a part of it, then you can't own it. It owns you.
Oh, okay.
So you can't own your story and then say that my story owns me. No, if your story owns you, then you have no power.
Right, right, right. Wow. Thank you for that wonderful insight. Thank you for that wonderful insight. I'm seeing things from the construct, but man, you're making sense with the way you're explaining it. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. Yeah, so your company, Active Power, focuses on nutrition and wellness.
yeah.
What led you to actually start this venture?
Well, I have a background in biochemistry and molecular biology in addition to being a physician. So I created some medicines
Okay.
um, for the benefit of my patients, and those medicines are very, very potent in reducing inflammation and arthritis.
Mhm.
And they that became popular, and so we started a company to create it, and it works. They work very, very well. And these same medicines also, in their modified form, also work for dogs and horses for their arthritis and movement problems, and it works across the board. And that's how the company started, and it's a small niche company, and you know uh, we operate out of it's a part of my clinic. It's a separate part of my clinic that we uh, make the medicines right there and package it and ship it all over the world.
Mm.
It works. People go online to the website and place their orders. Mm,
Okay.
You
So
get
where
it.
do you place the order?
Oh, it's activepower.com. You just go to activpower.com. Yeah,
Okay. Oh,
activepower.com.
wow, that is interesting. You know, when
Yeah,
I was reading your bio, I could see that you have a very diverse journey in life coming
yeah,
up to this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I did quite a lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So how did you then put all of them together? Because I can see they're all working for you anyway. But you started from medicine, science, entrepreneurship, and then wellness. I mean,
I
how did
empower people. So the
okay?
way I work is my life is all about empowerment.
All
I
right.
just so if you look at my bio, you see the diversity in it. I have acted as a movie star in a 12-minute short film that won honorable mention at the Lucerne International Film Festival. I've I've written books. I'm in the process of writing 2 or 3 more books in the next year and a half. I I'm a physician. I'm an inventor with patents, entrepreneur, and every one of this is a story. Every
Mm,
one of this is a story, and the story is a method of making things that will produce an impact and empower people.
mhm,
So,
mhm.
so, and every one of these stories, I own these stories. The stories did not own me. So as a result, when I move from one story to the other story without any conflict, without
Right.
any without any regret. So it's I don't have any hangover from one aspect of my life to another. Like in the morning, I'll come into the clinic, I'll see patients. At lunchtime, I'll start a production run on my active power with a couple of my staff, turn around, see patients again in the afternoon. In between, I might have 15 minutes to write down a few ideas that you go into a book. So I move like that from place to place to place in with each story without getting stuck, without getting bogged down.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that comes because I'm able to separate reality from story.
Story. Wow.
What is real right now is just you and me talking. This
Yes.
is all I'm doing. While I'm doing this, my mind is not running about, oh, what do I do next? What do I do next? I'm only doing this. And at the end of this conversation, I will shut off, I'll take my earpiece off, and then I will forget about you and I will go to my next part.
Go to your next. Yeah, that's true. That's
And
very
that is all. That is all. And I don't sit and worry about whether this conversation is going to be seen by 20 million people or 20 people. It doesn't matter. This moment in time was given to me and I did it and I'm gone. This moment in time may flourish or it may perish. Both ways, it doesn't matter anymore because this moment in time is over and
that's
I'm
true.
going to go to my next moment.
That's
So,
very
like that, I go through my life from moment to moment without a hangover about the moment that passed. So,
mm,
so sometimes I find, for example, I discovered a week ago, I discovered that I was not doing something right in the way I conducted my practice, the business part of my practice. I was making a mistake, and I had made that mistake for 20 years without realizing it was a mistake.
mm,
So when I found it, it didn't matter to me that I lost 20 years of opportunity.
mm,
What mattered to me was I didn't have to do another 20 years of making that mistake. That's all that matters to me. So
right.
when you are invested in reality and not on stories, then the mistakes don't hang on to you. They just show you the way and they disappear.
You disappeared. Okay. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. In 1 minute, can you tell us the misconception people have about achieving happiness and success?
People think that success is something that they have to achieve.
Mm.
People do forget this. They cannot achieve success because success is an opinion.
Ah.
See, it is other people's opinion about you.
Mm.
So when somebody says, oh, that person is successful or another person is not a success, both are opinions of other people. They are not reality. What is real is only an action and a result.
Mm. Right.
And
Wow.
if the action and the result are consistent in alignment, then that is success. If it is not in alignment, that's a failure. But people get invested on the opinion of people. Now, just think about it. If if you do something perfect and only one person sees it, you're not happy that it is a success. It is for you when you start saying that it is success, you need everybody on the internet to say that it is a success. Otherwise, you don't feel it's a success.
Mm, mm, mm,
So
mm.
you are a slave to the opinion of thousands and thousands of people.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
That is not what life is about.
What life is about. Wow.
So think about it. All right. Uh, take Julius Caesar, Alexander. How many people are worshiping him now?
Even though,
Alexander conquered half the world.
mm,
What is that a success? It doesn't matter now. that he
Yeah.
conquered half the world? No, it doesn't. So whatever you do, that opinion about how powerful they were or whatever is going to not even last one lifetime. What is going to last is what you created right now, and that thing will last for its duration, and then it'll move on. It'll move on to the next. You save one person's life, that lasts. So that it's
Thank you.
success.
Yeah.
Success is like a wisp of smoke. It
Wow.
means nothing.
Thank you so much for that. And that is it today on Mission to Inspire. Thank you so much for joining us. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. Like, share, and comment on today's Mission to Inspire. I hope we've inspired you. Thank you for joining. Goodbye. Subscribe if you haven't done so. Like, follow, comment. Until next time. Goodbye.